Welcome to Mortgage on My Mind, where we take the mystery out of mortgages and make dreams of home ownership a reality. I'm Natalie Salins, a top 1% mortgage broker with 20 years of experience, based right here in sunny Los Angeles. If you've ever wondered about pre-approvals, appraisals, or what loan product is right for you, don't worry, I've got Mortgage on My Mind, so you don't have to. Each week, I'll bring you expert advice, real-life stories, and insider tips to help you navigate California's competitive real estate market with confidence. Whether you're buying your first home, refinancing, or just curious about how it all works, this podcast is for you. So let's talk mortgages, demystify the process, and make your real estate goals a reality. Ready to get started? Let's dive in. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mortgage on My Mind. I'm your host, Natalie Salins. And today our guest is Alex Dahlstrom. Alex is in Greenville, South Carolina. He is a certified financial planner with Northwestern Mutual. He has over a decade of experience in comprehensive financial planning and private equity investing. Alex helps individuals and families build lasting wealth through smart planning and personalized advice. And he's also the founder of the Pink Dolphin Foundation, which is a mission-driven nonprofit dedicated to fostering financial inclusion and sustainable development in underserved communities, which is so lovely. It reminds me of what my company does, Movement Mortgage. So yes, welcome, Alex. So nice to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Natalie. Honored to be here.
Yes, one of our first financial advisors, which is so exciting because a lot of times people aren't necessarily ready to buy a house, but they still want advice on what's their best way to build wealth. What is their best options with the money that they currently have in using it to help their future and a retirement, so to speak. So tell us a little bit about your history and how you got started and when and what you think are your strengths.
Yeah, I guess 3-minute story of my life here.
Okay.
My parents met late, retired early. I'm a spoiled, rotten only child. Grew up on Kiawah Island down on the coast in Charleston. Went to a little private school where I discovered my love of Jesus and my love of distance running, which I've learned they go together quite well. When you're gasping for breath at the end of the race, you got to pray to someone. And
Yes, I guess so.
And then from there, the only AP course I ever took my time in high school was economics. It was a subject that my dad studied in school. He almost became an econ professor, which is ultimately almost what I did. Road not taken for both of us. And ended up going to Clemson. Was there for 5 years, got my bachelor's in economics, and then I also got my master's in applied economics and statistics. I was originally going to, pursue a PhD at either Stanford or U of Chicago, but lo and behold, said a prayer, went to a career fair. That's how I found Northwestern 7 years ago. But yeah, I've basically been introduced to money, financial planning, the stock market, investments, just psychology of money even since I was 8 years old, and my dad was quizzing me on what makes the stock market go up and down as we're driving to school, since he retired from corporate America, got his CFP, and did some pro bono work basically in the mornings he'd trade securities, in the afternoon he'd go play golf and basically be living his best life. So that had an impact on me. And here I am. I have about 300 households that I serve. Absolutely love what I do. And it's really cool to be a
300.
part of literally seeing people's dreams come true.
Amazing. So tell me a little bit about what you do. What's the conversation you have with your clients when a client calls you and they say, "Hey, I've got $30,000 or $50,000. What do you think I should do with it? How should I best invest it? I don't have anything saved and I don't really know what to do with this, whatever it may be, inheritance that I just got."
Yeah, so the most common response is, well, it depends. Naturally, as a certified financial planner, I'm not going to have sweeping generalizations or a one size fits all type of set of thoughts. But really, yeah, the first thing is it depends on the person. Like 30,000 to you and me is very different than 30,000 to someone who's just graduated college or someone that's just retired. So there are different pieces that have to happen in the right order. And I would feel like it's what's most important is just understanding and educating first on
Mhm.
really not only what's out there, but just what's relevant to them and what they want. And I would say from there, I joke that sort of what I do is I'm at my best when I'm just getting stuff structured for people to basically put it on autopilot so that then they can focus on making memories and having the best sleep they can when their head hits the pillow at night, knowing that there aren't really any worries with regards to what and how their money's being used.
And what is it that you have found has been the most consequential for clients? What has it been doing money markets? Has it been CDs? Has it been like, what do you think has been the most successful in how you have set people up in their financial portfolio?
I would say at a high level, it's just consistency and accountability. It's sticking to a philosophy. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Of course, I believe very strongly in Northwestern. And there's, of course, a best methodology of how Northwestern serves clients at the highest level. But really, we're all on the same team in terms of serving clients from an investment, insurance, fiduciary financial planning standpoint, and that the core principles are always the same. It's understanding where someone's at, what they need, and then letting numbers tell the story because numbers never lie.
Hmm.
And that, yeah, there's nothing I can really point to in terms of a particular investment product or service, even that's going to beat someone being just consistent and really biting the bullet and paying themselves first and saving money.
Okay, understood. And so let's take it back and go like real simple. Like, why would you say that long-term thinking beats market timing thinking?
It's because I would just look at it this way. If you're looking at what's important and what's urgent, the urgent's always going to win. And in behavioral economics, we call putting off those important things perpetually hyperbolic discounting. As in, you get into once you're just thinking in the present, you are consistently neglecting your future self because you're always in the present and you're like, hey, let's just live it up now, YOLO. And the other thing is that when you're looking at there's something that you're putting your money and thought towards, it's you really want, if you're going to put your time and effort towards it, you really want to be able to influence the outcome, in my humble opinion. That's why, like, when a lot of folks are putting a lot of time and effort towards thinking about investing in something or thinking about something that they're really passionate about, and I'm like, shoot, just go start a business. And then also on the real estate side of things, that's why I look at real estate as that is like the gateway to people starting businesses because there's so much to every particular house, every particular property that makes it unique and makes it something that there are ways to influence sort of the outcome, its value, etc. And a
Right.
lot more ways that you can influence that than just about anything else out there besides starting a business. And starting a business is that next step beyond there, which naturally a lot of people that are in real estate or just about everyone I talk to in real estate, they have multiple LLCs and they basically from there, after they buy their first investment property, a lot of times they're like, or they even have do some house hacking that naturally gets their appetite wet enough to where they start becoming a landlord or start selling it or start a business from there.
Got it. Yeah. And so then what would you say are key things for like tasks for consistency, for building that kind of consistency for somebody?
Oh man, so this one is I don't want to call it set it or forget it, but it's by the same notion that the two most popular assets or your two largest assets on just about anyone's on the average American's balance sheet at retirement. This is from a study done by Dr. Wade Pfau and Michael Finca, is a house and a 401k. I guess let me ask you this, Natalie. What do those two things have in common?
They appreciate.
In theory, hopefully. Never know. But it's one is with 401ks, it comes out of your paycheck. Comes out first, right? And with a house, most people have mortgages. That's coming out the first of the month. And if you're late, you're not living there anymore, generally. So with both of them, they're forced savings. And with 401ks, a lot of times you have employers that you're auto enrolled, and even in some cases, they're increasing your contributions by 1% each year. And what was found in one of their studies is that the opt-out programs, where basically you'd have to call HR to have them lower the contributions or basically opt out of a plan, those were 14 times higher in terms of value than the ones where you had to call to enroll. As
Mhm.
in, make the first decision easy, have it set up, and basically from there, it's what's your biting the bullet and committing to it. You're not even going to notice it generally. And it's almost like it's a bill to your future self.
And would you say that when you have a client that, let's say, rents, and they come to you and they've got like a nice amount of assets and you set them up on a great plan and a beautiful portfolio, do you recommend them buy a house? Do you say to them, listen, I really think that the next step for you is to purchase a home to take tax write-offs on and all of that?
Depends on their goals, is the first thing. It's not something that I'll formally recommend per se. But do I think that a house is a great asset to have if a client wants it, and B, they have a desire to have generational wealth? Absolutely. Because I would say the biggest advantage that second and third generation wealth folks have is that they're not paying for the same stuff that first generation people are. It's seriously, so I know this. I went to a private school. Not very many people in my graduating class. It's safe to assume a lot of people that go to private schools, they don't pay for student loans. A lot of times they're not paying for their car. And a lot of times they get gifted houses. So a lot of times they're not even paying mortgages. So naturally, what you have there is money freed up for, if it's done right, and there's good financial education by the patriarchs, matriarchs of the family, that then that goes into different savings. It goes into different businesses, goes in maybe into other real estate if they have a real estate business. But if we're going back to like my clients, it's like, I'll tell you what, usually it's like probably the second, maybe in some cases the first most popular goal that gets brought up is I want to buy a house. So a lot of times I'm not having to say, have you ever thought of this? It's more so of, okay, we're already thinking about this because it's a part of the American dream. Let's do the math and see what makes sense regarding what your needs are, your income is, and what you're doing going forward.
Okay. And so, what would, as we were saying before, why consistency is such an underrated financial tool, what would you say are some habits for somebody who has like long-term financial goals for themselves? What are habits for them to start?
So yeah, the big one is just having an amount that you're committing to save slash invest, have it on auto draft every single month,
Okay. So
and
like
be
having a certain amount in your head. So you have a goal to hit something annually, you would say, and then that's what they pull on the biweekly from.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. It's different with business owners. With business owners, you're committing to a drop in the bucket number, and then at the end of the year or at different times, you're dumping stuff where it needs to go. But with people that are just regular schmegular W-2 employees, yeah, it's basically this is the amount that we're paying first to ourselves, our future selves. And depending on the math of the plan, that can look very different depending on people. And I hate to sound so general here, but it really depends. It's like there's some people that are they're 25 years old that they're making really good money, but they love what they do and they don't ever really want to retire. So with them, maybe 10 to 15% of what they set aside is of what they make is going to get them to where they want everything they've ever dreamed of. But then there are other folks that are 25 that want to start a business when they're 30 and they're living off of like 20 to 30% of what they make and want certain dollars accessible at 30 to put into a business or an idea as capital. They don't really think about the long term. And from there, it's finding balance. Or they're folks that are literally like, okay, I want to escape the US when I'm 40 and I'm going to be living on like pennies on the dollar.
Mm.
I just need this amount, it's this number. And it really depends on the person.
Okay, love that. And what would you say is a mistake that you have seen clients make that could have been avoided with the correct kind of advice and stuff? What's a common mistake that we see people do? I can name 100. Do you know what I
I
mean? Yeah.
By the same notion that I've undone a lot of bad recommendations, the thing that really made those recommendations bad was not necessarily the idea or even the product or service recommended. It was more so the fact that the advisor wasn't keeping up with the client to make sure it was still making sense and there wasn't any sort of plan or guidance built around what was recommended.
Well,
I would
what
say
would
with
you
that in
say,
mind, I would
like
say,
before, just real quick, before they talk to a financial advisor, like what would you say is something that people may think they're doing correctly and it's actually not something that they're doing correctly? So it is like oh my God, I thought I was saving in the right way, or I thought I was pulling. What is like a common mistake that?
I would say throwing everything towards retirement and then
Mm,
have nothing left over for anything in between. I
right.
would say in some cases, just sitting on just tons and tons of money and being afraid to implement, to put it to places, being afraid to give, being afraid to actually put that to use. I would say
A big one.
the
Like
biggest
having too
mistake.
much money in a savings account, right?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, there are some cases where I would rather sit down with someone that is coachable, that has $40,000 of credit card debt, than someone that will do what is told. They'll run through a brick wall like the Kool-Aid man if you tell them to, versus someone that's sitting on $100,000 that's just scared of everything. It's
Hmm.
fear that leads to inaction. That's like the biggest thing. I'm not real. I would say, yes, we give life-changing advice, but we're not really in the advice business. We're in the results business, as in we're here to be someone's Sherpa through the rest of their life to help
Totally.
them with saving and putting money in the right spots, but then also just helping them by talking them back into their goals, hopes, and dreams actually coming through and still just hold them accountable to put in the work.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing to work. I'm also very conservative with my stuff. Like my financial advisor is always wanting me to do less of the bonds because they're so conservative and more dividend earning things. And I tend to sway that way for myself as well. With that said, I have plenty of stock at this point because he's convinced me. But I can see how it jumping in and diversifying is really what makes a portfolio work. do you have a set? I like to diversify and have 15% be stocks and 20% be, I don't know, like I said, bonds and
No.
something CDs. And is there anything like that? Any kind of calculation in that way?
Really, it's a matter of within what accounts is the big thing. It's like, for example, I could recommend a particular stock, and it could be that same stock could be taxed in about 7 different ways across 52 different account types. And from there, I think like an economist, I think of what is the first and best use of these dollars? And a lot of times, I mean, depending on where someone's at in their financial journey, there are times when whole accounts will be all equities. But it's because of that account type and the play and the role it's going to play in the overall financial plan. You can afford to have it be that way because there are different backstops that you have in different accounts and different things that you have.
Right.
But no, I'd say there's nothing that's just a sweeping generalization. I would say it really depends on. I like to keep things as simple as possible. I like
Okay.
to simplify. I like to have buckets. I go off of a bucket approach of we're pulling from this bucket in this situation. We're pulling from this one and another. And I do the best I can to make sure that when we are pulling from different places, the client knows what's going on. And also, we're paying as little in taxes as possible, and we're following all the necessary rules while doing so.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about the Pink Dolphin Foundation.
Oh yeah, so I'm really excited about that. So the
Okay.
501c3 is officially live on that. I started that last year when Hurricane Helene devastated the entire upstate of South Carolina, Asheville, Tennessee. Like countless folks lost their lives. There were just hundreds of thousands of trees that were down. We were without power for a week. Dolphin Foundation was started. I'd been kicking around the idea for a while because the notion is the pink dolphin is based upon the Amazon River dolphin, which is a real animal, and it's out of place because dolphins are mostly in the ocean. It's a play on words from you're not a fish out of the water, you're a dolphin in a river, as in you're put
Oh,
there for a reason. And it alludes back to my faith in Christianity, hence it's a mystery. It's the only pink dolphin to ever make it out of the river and into the ocean of heaven to be with all the other dolphins, and to do it perfectly was Jesus. And the way that the pink dolphin gets from the river out to where he or she belongs is through acts of random kindness and Christian business education and scholarship. And that all leads back to the Bible, which is the roadmap of our faith. And Hurricane Helene was the turning point and the spark of this because I just felt God tugging on my heartstrings to give something directly to people that had their houses destroyed. So we had some care packages get flown up and some helicopters last year.
yeah.
And so that was the first, those are the first people that got blessed by the acts of random kindness side of things. And actually last week, we had the first recipient of the act of random kindness branch of the charity, and that which of course the whole thing with Pink Dolphin is everything that gets done is totally anonymous. There's no publicity, no nothing, because we're doing this for the right reasons. We're not doing this for publicity. And yeah, the goal and my hope is that as I grow my businesses, that this will be a multi-million-dollar a year operation where when it's meant to happen, money's going to go where it needs to go to be a prayer answered, and that there will be systems in place and education for folks that are blessed by this. So we are empowering folks and not necessarily just enabling.
Interesting. Beautiful. And so you just started it, and how does the foundation work exactly? Do you offer free financial advice, or is it a foundation of sorts?
So there are two branches to it. So really and we're open for donations now. Up to this point, it was just being self-funded from my practice. But really, there's two branches. There's acts of random kindness, which there are two ways to really have that. Either you set money aside and you want to go and specifically have a prayer answer and be the person that does that. Or we have a team of right now, there are five of us that are doing that, and we take turns each month where someone's just praying into spirit and just making something happen. And then there's the business education and scholarship board, which that so far has provided a scholarship to the Boy Scouts. We're working on one day having enough money to provide like a full year of tuition for to higher education institution amongst other things, but then
Oh,
also
wow.
just getting those folks that
Like
do that mentorship.
broad spectrum foundation kind of thing.
Yep. Intentionally broad, but then structured where it needs to be. It really is in the spirit of being like a prayer answered to whoever gets the money.
Got it. And will you offer is I don't know how it works with financial advisors actually. Do at least with Northwestern, do you guys earn your money through having portfolios and a percentage off of them, or do you only earn when you purchase or sell certain things? Like, how does that actually
So at
work?
a high level, it's basically standard across the industry. You have basically you get a piece of assets under management, and it really depends on if you're doing brokerage or advisory. There's a lot of stuff that I'm trying to be high level and not super duper specific on.
Sure,
And the point is, it really is like a cookout milkshake. It's like still vanilla ice cream at the base of cookout, and then you have all of the 40 or 50 different toppings you put in. But yeah, we get compensated as Northwestern advisors as get piece of assets under management. Once again, a lot of various factors there on if it's brokerage or advisory. Fees depend on how big the portfolio is. There's what's it called? Of course, we get paid on the insurance side of things. That's also industry standard with respect to life insurance, long-term care, long-term
sure.
disability, annuities,
So it's
etc.
like a percentage or something.
Yeah, it's a percentage of premiums, and then but yeah, and it's really just industry standard once again. And then you're also looking at fee-based engagements, which I generally stay away from fee-based engagements unless we are basically there's no circumstance in which I'm managing assets, or they really truly are saying, hey, you are a second opinion. We are basically paying you in the form of like billable hours to do something.
Got it. Interesting. So I guess because it's percentage, you wouldn't be able to. I wonder if part of the foundation, do you offer financial help to people, or it's really just like a foundation where you give
So back to Pink
tuition and stuff.
Dolphin. So
Yeah,
it's money that's getting directly put where it needs to be, whether it's an act of random kindness or in the
that's
form
random
of
finance. That's right.
business
Yeah.
education and scholarship. And yeah, I hate and it's vague, I know, but the point is that it's not, I don't want it to become a ginormous bureaucratic mess. I want it to
Right.
be simple as it can be, just so we're not having to call five people to approve this person getting this thing. It's like this person has authority, go do it. And on the and yeah, I'm not really there's no tie-in directly to particular pieces of my business that go into it. It's just a percentage of I just give to the charity based upon what I'm making as an advisor, as well as my other different holdings in the private equity space.
Got it. And do you currently own? Do you own home?
Yes, so my wife and I, we have a townhouse, and yeah, we have a townhouse. She bought it a few years ago. And yeah, when we got married, that basically became I became a part owner as well. So I'm a homeowner, which is
There you are.
I love it.
Okay. Yeah. Beautiful. It was so nice chatting. Is there anything else that you would like our audience to know? Anything important that we missed?
Off the top of my head, the thing I'll close with is just when we're talking about money and finance, I mean, there are just so many ways to skin a cat. I would say my one piece of guidance to someone listening is you don't need an advisor to give you really great ideas. You need an advisor because we know what you don't know in terms of in terms of what it'll actually take to get you where you need to be. And for every bit that, yeah, you could do it yourself, you have to be asking and thinking to yourself, is that really the best use of your time? And more often than not, it's not. And there are better things that you can be doing than trying to basically just reinvent the wheel. We already have infrastructure and people that'll be able to take this off your plate, and an advisor, and I'll be honest, an advisor that's doing their job and doing it properly is a part of the family, honestly. And
Yeah.
someone that is also a
True.
master of connecting people, not only with the right recommendations at the right point in time, but the right people to build just a village of support around each and every person that they serve, regardless of their industry, just to make sure that they're getting where they need to be.
It's true. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been lovely chatting with you. I think what you're doing is beautiful and heroic, and Movement has very similar motives in running their business. And we are what you call an impact lender. And last year, I think we gave like 55% of our net proceeds to underprivileged children and
Wow.
communities as well.
So cool.
If you look us up, it's pretty amazing. Our CEO is just an incredible man. So very like-minded. And I appreciate you joining us. Thank you all for listening. And we'll see you on the next Mortgage on My Mind. Thank you. Thanks for listening to Mortgage on My Mind. If you're ready to start your mortgage journey or have any questions, I'd love to help. With 20 years of experience, I make the process as simple and stress-free as possible. Check the show notes for my contact info, and don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast. Until next time, I'm Natalie Salins, here to help make your real estate dreams a reality.